Have you ever wondered what it means to truly let go? To face death without fear, with complete acceptance? Buddha's death, known as Parinirvana, is one of the most poignant and transformative moments in human history. It wasn't just the end of a remarkable teacher's life, it was the beginning of an eternal message about the nature of existence, suffering, and liberation. Let's journey together through the last days of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, and uncover the profound teachings and reflections that make his final moments so incredibly moving and inspiring. If you found Buddha's final teachings inspiring, hit subscribe and join our journey towards enlightenment. A journey to the end, or the beginning? Buddha's final journey was not merely a walk towards death, it was a profound pilgrimage that echoed the very essence of his life, a life filled with compassion, teaching, and the pursuit of truth. Imagine this. A man who had left behind all worldly luxuries, choosing instead the path of a wandering monk, now embracing his final days with the same grace and wisdom he had shown throughout his life. His journey to Kushinagar was not just about reaching a destination, it was a living, breathing reminder of impermanence, a testament to the truth that everything, even the greatest of lives, comes to an end. Can you picture the scene? Buddha walked from village to village, his frail body a testament to age, yet his spirit untouched by the ravages of time. His followers, their hearts heavy with devotion, love, and the inevitability of loss, watched him teach until the very end. Even as he approached Kushinagar, aware that his physical form would soon expire, Buddha used every breath to impart wisdom, every moment as a chance for realization. Was it not a miracle in itself that even the last steps of his journey were steps of compassion and enlightenment? The final teachings along the way. During his final journey, Buddha continued to teach with unwavering dedication. He spoke of impermanence, of suffering, and of the path to liberation. He reminded his followers that clinging to anything, be it material possessions, relationships, or even his own presence, was a source of suffering. He encouraged them to find the truth within themselves, to walk the path with diligence and mindfulness. Can you imagine the depth of love and compassion it takes to focus entirely on the well-being of others, even as one's own body begins to fail? One of the most touching moments came when Buddha stopped at a village and met with a group of monks who were struggling with their practice. Despite his physical weakness, he took the time to sit with them, to listen, and to guide them. He spoke of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, reminding them that the journey to enlightenment was not about perfection but about perseverance. He told them that even small steps, taken with sincerity, could lead to profound transformation. How often do we forget this in our own lives? How often do we become disheartened by our perceived failures, rather than recognizing the value of each step we take? Buddha also stopped to speak with ordinary villagers, sharing his wisdom in simple, relatable ways. He spoke of compassion, urging them to care for one another, to see beyond their differences, and to recognize the interconnectedness of all beings. He told stories, parables that illuminated the truths of the Dharma, reminding them that wisdom is not found in complex philosophies but in the simple, everyday acts of kindness and mindfulness. His teachings were always accessible, always grounded in the reality of the human experience. It is this simplicity, this profound ability to connect with people from all walks of life, that made Buddha's message so powerful and enduring. Did Buddha know he was going to die? How does one prepare for death? Does knowing the end is near fill us with fear or peace? Buddha's awareness of his impending death was not a burden. It was a profound acceptance of the nature of all things. According to the Mahaparinirvana Sutta, Buddha had a premonition of his death. He openly spoke of his life coming to an end, encouraging his disciples to continue their path of liberation. What does it say about a person who, knowing their time is limited, still dedicates every waking moment to others? It says everything about Buddha's understanding of impermanence and his compassionate heart. He did not approach death as a grim fate but as an opportunity to show the ultimate truth of anicca, impermanence. He wanted his followers to see that death was not an end but a natural transformation, a reminder that we must live without clinging, that nothing truly belongs to us. Imagine having such clarity. How liberating would it be to face the inevitable with calm acceptance rather than fear? Buddha's serene acceptance of his mortality serves as a beautiful, enduring lesson for us all. Buddha spoke openly to his disciples about his approaching death, encouraging them not to see it as a cause for sorrow but as a natural part of life. He reminded them that everything that arises must also pass away, that clinging to anything, even to his physical presence, would only lead to suffering. His words were not meant to be harsh but to awaken them to the truth of existence. Isn't it interesting how, even in his final days, Buddha's teachings were as much about living as they were about dying? Buddha's acceptance of his death was not passive, it was an active embrace of the truth he had spent his life teaching. He used his impending death as a final lesson, a living demonstration of what it means to live in harmony with the nature of all things. He spoke to his disciples about the importance of finding refuge in the Dharma, of becoming their own guiding light. Be a light unto yourselves, he said. It was a call to empowerment, to take the teachings and make them their own. He wanted them to understand that while he would no longer be with them in physical form, the Dharma, the truth, would always be there to guide them. The meal that changed history, was Buddha poisoned? The story of Buddha's final meal is surrounded by questions and intrigue. It was offered by a humble blacksmith named Kunda, and it is said to have been a dish called Sukaramadhava. Was it pork? Was it a type of mushroom? Was it perhaps both or neither? These questions remain unanswered, but the true mystery lies in what happened next. After eating the meal, Buddha fell gravely ill. He experienced excruciating pain, yet he remained composed and serene. Can you imagine enduring such suffering while maintaining a state of complete tranquility? Buddha's reaction was a profound teaching on how to face physical suffering with an untroubled mind. But here's something even more touching. Buddha made sure that Kunda knew he was not to blame for his illness. He reassured the blacksmith that his offering was noble and that he should not carry any guilt. Even in his most vulnerable state, Buddha's compassion shone brightly. He alleviated the burden from another, ensuring no one felt responsible for his decline. Isn't this the essence of love and compassion, to think of others, even when we are ourselves in pain? Imagine being Kunda, a simple blacksmith, unknowingly offering the last meal to the Enlightened One. The grief, the guilt, the weight of responsibility must have been overwhelming. But Buddha, even in his weakened state, saw this suffering and sought to relieve it. He told Ananda, his faithful attendant, to reassure Kunda that this offering was meritorious, that it was as important as the meal he had received before attaining enlightenment. Buddha's empathy extended beyond his own pain. He was always mindful of the suffering of others. How often do we, in our own moments of distress, forget that others around us may also be suffering? Poison or fate? Unraveling Buddha's last meal. Whether the meal was poisoned, or if it was simply an unfortunate case of food poisoning, is still debated. Yet, for Buddha, the cause of death was secondary to how he responded to it. He taught that suffering is inevitable, but how we relate to it defines our inner peace. Buddha faced his final illness without resentment, without blame. He embraced it as another opportunity to demonstrate equanimity. Are we not all bound to face pain in our lives? What if we could do so with the same calm and compassion as Buddha, seeing suffering as an integral part of the human journey? His response is a reminder that physical suffering need not disturb the peace of the mind. The mind's freedom is independent of the body's condition. In those final, painful hours, Buddha's unshakable mindfulness showed us what true mastery over one's mind looks like, a state free from attachment, fear, and regret. Buddha's illness lasted for several days, during which he continued to teach and guide his disciples. He spoke of the importance of mindfulness, even in the face of physical pain. He reminded them that the body is impermanent, that it will inevitably age, fall ill, and die. But the mind, when cultivated with wisdom and compassion, can remain unshaken. His words were not just teachings, they were a living example of how to face suffering with grace and dignity. Isn't it remarkable how, even in his final moments, Buddha was teaching us how to live? The sacred place where Buddha would rest forever. Why did Buddha choose Kushinagar for his final resting place? It wasn't a grand palace or a holy mountain. It was a simple grove under the twin Sala trees. Buddha lay down between these trees, and as the story goes, they bloomed out of season, showering petals upon him. It's almost as if nature itself was moved by the moment, a quiet tribute to the man who taught us how to live in harmony with all beings. The choice of Kushinagar reflects Buddha's humility. He did not seek out grandeur or recognition. He sought simplicity, reminding us that it is not the place that makes something sacred, but the heart and intention behind it. Can we learn from this simplicity? Can we find peace not in extravagant things but in the quiet beauty of nature, the small moments of life that we often overlook? As Buddha lay between the Sala trees, he spoke to his disciples one last time. He reminded them of the impermanence of all things and encouraged them to continue their practice with diligence. He asked them to be a light unto themselves, to rely on their own understanding and not merely on his words. How often do we look outside ourselves for answers, when the truth lies within? Buddha's final message was a call to trust in our own capacity for wisdom and enlightenment. The twin Sala trees, blooming out of season, were seen by many as a sign of nature's reverence for the Buddha. The scene was serene, almost otherworldly. The gentle rustling of the leaves, the soft petals falling upon the ground, it was as if the entire universe was paying its respects. Buddha's choice of this humble grove as his final resting place was a powerful reminder of the beauty of simplicity. In a world that often equates worth with grandeur and opulence, Buddha showed us that true peace is found in the quiet, unadorned moments of life. Buddha's final message to us. What would you say if you knew these were your last words? Buddha's last words were simple yet profound: all conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on untiringly. There was no elaborate farewell, no cryptic message, just a straightforward reminder of the truth of impermanence and a call to keep striving. He was telling his followers, and us, that liberation is in our own hands. We must take responsibility for our spiritual journey. Isn't that empowering? To know that the keys to our freedom lie within us? Instead of mourning his passing, Buddha urged his followers to practice with diligence. Life is fleeting, and each moment is an opportunity to awaken. Buddha's final words are not just a message, they are a call to action, a call to live with awareness, to strive for inner peace, to recognize the preciousness of each breath. Buddha's last words also remind us that the path is not easy. It requires effort, perseverance, and unwavering commitment. He knew that his followers would face challenges, that the world would test their resolve. But he also knew that within each of them was the potential for enlightenment. Do we not all have this potential? What would our lives look like if we truly believed in our ability to awaken, to find peace, to transcend suffering? Buddha's final message was also a reminder of the importance of personal responsibility. He did not want his followers to become reliant on him or to see him as the source of their liberation. He wanted them to understand that the journey to enlightenment was theirs to make. Be a light unto yourselves, he said. It was a call to find the truth within, to trust in their own wisdom and experience. How often do we look to others for answers, when the real answers lie within us? Buddha's words challenge us to take ownership of our spiritual journey, to be our own guiding light. The enlightened one's last breath. As Buddha took his last breath, there was a profound stillness. Those gathered must have felt an emptiness, but also a deep sense of reverence. How does one respond when the physical presence of such an enlightened being fades away? The world seemed to pause, and in that moment, Buddha entered Parinirvana, the final release from the cycle of birth and death. Unlike ordinary beings caught in the cycles of samsara, Buddha's passing was the ultimate end of suffering, a reminder of what lies beyond this material existence. Even in his absence, Buddha's teachings continued to shine as a guiding light. Isn't it true that when we lose someone truly great, it's their legacy, their love, and their wisdom that remains with us, continuing to guide us? Buddha's final moments were a gentle reminder that while the body fades, truth endures forever. As the sala trees bloomed and the petals fell, it was as if nature itself was paying homage to the Enlightened One. The disciples gathered around him, some in tears, others in silent contemplation. Ananda, his closest attendant, was overcome with grief, but he remembered Buddha's words, to let go, to find strength in the Dharma. Isn't it the greatest tribute to a teacher to live their teachings, to embody their wisdom, even in their absence? The scene at Kushinagar was both solemn and serene. The disciples sat in silent meditation, reflecting on the teachings that had brought them to this moment. The air was thick with a sense of loss, but also with a deep resolve. They knew that Buddha's physical form was gone, but his teachings were alive within them. How often do we forget that the true essence of a person lies not in their physical presence, but in the impact they have on our hearts and minds? When Buddha left this world, the moment that changed everything. Buddha's death was not an ending but a beginning. It marked the transition from a personal teacher to a timeless teaching, a legacy that would inspire generations. His disciples were filled with grief, especially Ananda, who had been by his side for so many years. But Buddha had prepared them for this moment. He reminded them again and again, do not cling, even to him. Instead, find strength in the Dharma, in the truth, in the path. How often do we hold on too tightly to what we love? Buddha's passing taught us to let go with grace, to love deeply but without attachment, to cherish the presence of those we admire but not to cling. His death transformed the way his followers understood his teachings. It was a test, a call to prove their understanding, to take what they had learned and live it, without leaning on his physical presence. The days following Buddha's death were filled with both sorrow and determination. The disciples knew that the responsibility of preserving the Dharma now rested on their shoulders. They gathered together, united by their love for their teacher and their commitment to his teachings. The first Buddhist council was held shortly after Buddha's death, where his teachings were recited, organized, and preserved. Can you imagine the sense of duty they must have felt? The weight of ensuring that the light of Buddha's wisdom would continue to shine for future generations? Ananda, who had been Buddha's closest companion, played a crucial role in this process. Though he was initially overcome with grief, he found the strength to recall every teaching, every word that Buddha had spoken. His memory was impeccable, and his dedication to preserving the Dharma was unwavering. The council was a collective effort, a testament to the power of community, of Sangha, in carrying forward the light of wisdom. It was not about one person, it was about the collective, about the shared commitment to truth. Buddha's last words, the ultimate teaching on life and death. Strive on untiringly. These words resonate through the centuries, urging us not to give up, not to be discouraged by the trials of life. They remind us that the journey is ours to make. Life is fleeting, and time is precious. How do we want to spend our days? Are we striving towards peace, wisdom, and compassion, or are we lost in the distractions of the world? Buddha's last teaching was a profound message on life and death, not to fear it but to live so fully that when death comes, we are ready, unafraid. If we accept impermanence, cultivate compassion, and seek wisdom, death becomes not an end but a peaceful transition, a doorway into the unknown that we can face with courage and serenity. Buddha's emphasis on striving untiringly is a reminder that the path to enlightenment is not a passive one. It requires effort, dedication, and a willingness to face the truth of our own existence. It is easy to become complacent, to think that enlightenment is something that happens to us rather than something we must work towards. But Buddha's final words challenge us to take responsibility for our own awakening, to put in the effort required to break free from the cycles of suffering. His last words were also a reminder of the importance of resilience. Life is filled with challenges, with moments of pain and sorrow. But Buddha urged us to keep going, to keep striving, no matter how difficult the path may seem. Isn't that what true strength is? To continue, even when the way forward is unclear, even when the obstacles seem insurmountable? Buddha's final teaching was a call to resilience, to courage, to unwavering dedication to the path of truth. How the world reacted to Buddha's passing. When the news spread, grief touched kings and commoners alike. The great teacher was gone, and it felt as though a great light had been extinguished. Yet his teachings provided a new kind of light, one that could never be put out. His followers gathered for the first Buddhist council, a monumental event where his teachings were recited, preserved, and passed down. It was their way of ensuring that Buddha's wisdom would endure, not just as words on a page, but as living truths that could guide humanity. Can you imagine the determination of those disciples, sitting together, remembering every word, every nuance of their teacher's lessons? It was an act of love, devotion, and a promise to carry on the light that Buddha had brought into the world. They understood that the best way to honor their teacher was not in mourning, but in ensuring that his legacy lived on, in their hearts, in their actions, in every breath they took. The first Buddhist council was held at Rajgir, in the Satapani cave. It was attended by 500 of Buddha's closest disciples, led by Mahakassapa, one of his most respected followers. Ananda, who had been Buddha's personal attendant, played a crucial role in the council. His memory of Buddha's teachings was invaluable, as he had been present for almost every sermon and teaching session. The council's purpose was to preserve the Dharma and the Vinaya, the monastic code, to ensure that future generations would have access to the wisdom that had transformed their lives. The council was a monumental effort. Imagine the scene: 500 monks gathered, each with their own memories of the teachings, each with their own understanding of the Dharma. They recited the teachings, debated their meaning, and worked tirelessly to ensure that the essence of Buddha's wisdom was preserved. It was a labor of love, a testament to their commitment to the path. They knew that the responsibility of preserving the Dharma was not just for themselves, but for all future generations. It was a sacred duty, one that they took on with humility and dedication. The legacy of Buddha's death, why it still matters today. Buddha's death is more than an event in history, it is a timeless reminder of the nature of all things. Even now, his passing inspires us to reflect on our own lives. How often do we live as if we are immortal, putting off what matters most? Buddha's death urges us to awaken now, to live deeply, to strive untiringly for wisdom and compassion. His teachings have become a refuge for millions, a guide for anyone seeking truth and peace. The story of his final days reminds us that true freedom is attainable, that the path to enlightenment is open to all who are willing to walk it. It's a reminder that even in the face of death, we can find peace, purpose, and a profound sense of liberation. Doesn't that make you want to strive a little harder, to look a little deeper, to live with more intention? The legacy of Buddha's death is also a reminder of the importance of community. His disciples came together in the wake of his passing, supporting one another and working collectively to preserve his teachings. In our own lives, how often do we turn to others for support, for guidance, for strength? The Sangha, the community of practitioners, is one of the three jewels of Buddhism, alongside the Buddha and the Dharma. It is through community that we find the strength to continue, to strive untiringly, even when the path becomes difficult. Buddha's death also challenges us to rethink our relationship with death itself. In a society that often fears and avoids the topic of death, Buddha's approach was one of acceptance and understanding. He saw death as a natural part of life, not something to be feared but something to be embraced with wisdom and clarity. What if we, too, could face death with such peace? What if we could see it not as an end, but as a continuation, a transformation, a part of the greater cycle of existence? Buddha's legacy is also a call to mindfulness. His teachings on impermanence remind us that every moment is precious, that life is fleeting, and that we must live with awareness. How often do we get caught up in the trivialities of daily life, forgetting the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface? Buddha's death urges us to wake up, to see the beauty and the fragility of life, and to live with intention. It is a reminder that the present moment is all we truly have, and that we must make the most of it. The ongoing influence of Buddha's teachings. The impact of Buddha's teachings did not end with his death. In fact, his passing marked the beginning of a new era for Buddhism. His disciples, inspired by his final words and the depth of his compassion, spread his teachings far and wide. The Dharma crossed borders, cultures, and languages, touching the hearts of countless individuals throughout history. From the plains of India to the mountains of Tibet, from the forests of Southeast Asia to the bustling cities of the West, Buddha's message of compassion, wisdom, and liberation has continued to inspire. The teachings that Buddha left behind have been interpreted and reinterpreted by countless practitioners and scholars over the centuries. Each culture that encountered Buddhism added its own unique flavor to the teachings, creating a rich tapestry of traditions and practices. Whether it is Zen's focus on direct experience, Theravada's emphasis on monastic discipline, or Vajrayana's use of ritual and symbolism, all these traditions carry the essence of Buddha's message. They remind us that the path to enlightenment is diverse, that there are many ways to awaken, but the goal remains the same: liberation from suffering. Buddha's teachings also found their way into the realms of philosophy, psychology, and social action. His insights into the nature of the mind have influenced modern psychology, particularly in the fields of mindfulness and cognitive therapy. His teachings on compassion and nonviolence have inspired social and political leaders, from Mahatma Gandhi to Martin Luther King Jr. Isn't it incredible how the words of a humble monk, spoken over 2,500 years ago, continue to shape our world today? The practice of letting go, a lesson from Buddha's death. One of the most profound lessons from Buddha's death is the practice of letting go. Letting go of attachment, of fear, of the need to control. Buddha's life was a testament to the power of renunciation, not as a rejection of life, but as an embrace of what is truly meaningful. In his final moments, Buddha let go of his physical body, but his spirit, his teachings, remained. How often do we hold on to things that no longer serve us? How often do we cling to the past, to our fears, to our desires, only to find ourselves suffering as a result? Buddha's death challenges us to examine our own attachments. What are we holding on to that is preventing us from finding true peace? Is it our fear of the unknown, our desire for security, our reluctance to face change? Buddha's final teachings urge us to let go, to trust in the impermanence of all things, and to find freedom in that trust. Letting go is not about giving up, it is about opening ourselves to the truth of existence, about finding the courage to live fully in each moment, without clinging or fear. Buddha's legacy in our daily lives. Buddha's death may have been a historical event, but its lessons are deeply relevant to our daily lives. His teachings on impermanence remind us to cherish each moment, to live with awareness and compassion. His emphasis on striving untiringly encourages us to keep going, even when the path is difficult, even when we feel lost or discouraged. And his message of letting go challenges us to examine our attachments, to find the courage to release what no longer serves us, and to embrace the freedom that comes with that release. Imagine living each day with the same mindfulness that Buddha demonstrated in his final moments. Imagine facing challenges with equanimity, embracing change with grace, and letting go of fear and attachment. How different would our lives be? How much more peace, joy, and freedom would we experience? Buddha's death is not just a story from the past, it is a living teaching, a reminder that the path to enlightenment is open to all of us, here and now. Buddha's legacy also invites us to consider the power of compassion. Even in his final moments, he was thinking of others, reassuring Kunda, comforting his disciples, guiding them with his wisdom. Compassion was at the heart of everything Buddha did, and it is at the heart of his teachings. How can we bring more compassion into our own lives? How can we, like Buddha, think of others even when we are in pain, even when we are facing our own challenges? Compassion is not just a feeling, it is a practice, a way of being in the world. It is a path to freedom, both for ourselves and for others. The eternal message of Buddha's passing. The story of Buddha's death is a profound lesson on impermanence, acceptance, and the pursuit of truth. His final journey, his last meal, his passing, and his last words all serve as a testament to the depth of his enlightenment and his unwavering commitment to the Dharma. Though his physical form ceased, the light of his teachings continues to illuminate the path for millions around the world. The true essence of Buddha's final message lies in understanding that death is not the end but a transformation, an opportunity to fully awaken to the truth of existence and the boundless potential for liberation that lies within each of us. Imagine a life where we are no longer afraid of endings, where every breath is taken with full awareness of its impermanence. That is the life Buddha showed us, a life of freedom, compassion, and endless striving for truth. His death was not an ending but a call to begin anew, to walk the path he showed us, with courage, dedication, and, most importantly, an open heart. So let's strive on, untiringly, until we too can find that perfect peace. The story of Buddha's death is not just a historical narrative, it is a living teaching, one that continues to inspire, to challenge, and to guide. It is a reminder that the path to enlightenment is open to all of us, that the potential for awakening lies within each of us, waiting to be realized. So let us take Buddha's final words to heart. Let us strive on, untiringly, with compassion, with wisdom, and with the understanding that every moment is an opportunity to awaken. Let us walk this path together, supporting one another, and let us find within ourselves the courage to face whatever comes, with the same grace and serenity that Buddha showed in his final moments. And when the time comes for us to take our final breath, may we do so with peace, knowing that we have lived fully, loved deeply, and strived untiringly for the truth. May we, like Buddha, leave behind a legacy of compassion, wisdom, and light, an enduring reminder that the path to liberation is always within reach, for those who have the courage to walk it. Reflections on Parinirvana, the symbolism of Buddha's death. Buddha's parinirvana is rich with symbolism, and its significance extends beyond the physical event of his passing. Parinirvana represents the final release from the cycle of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. For Buddha, it was the ultimate liberation, the culmination of a lifetime dedicated to understanding the nature of existence and freeing oneself from suffering. His parinirvana was not just a personal achievement, it was a beacon of hope for all beings, a reminder that liberation is possible for anyone who walks the path with sincerity and dedication. The scene of Buddha lying between the twin sala trees, surrounded by his disciples, is a powerful image. It symbolizes the interconnectedness of all things, nature, humanity, and the Dharma. The blooming of the sala trees, despite being out of season, is often interpreted as a symbol of the profound impact of Buddha's presence. Even nature responded to his passing, as if acknowledging the significance of the moment. It was a reminder that Buddha's teachings were not just for humans but for all beings, for the entire cosmos. Buddha's final instructions to his disciples were also deeply symbolic. All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on untiringly. These words encapsulate the essence of his teachings, the impermanence of all things and the importance of effort in the pursuit of truth. Buddha's death was not an occasion for despair, it was a call to action, a reminder that the path to liberation lies in our own hands. The symbolism of parinirvana is a powerful reminder that true freedom is possible, that the cycle of suffering can be broken, and that the light of wisdom can illuminate even the darkest corners of existence. The role of the Sangha after Buddha's death. The Sangha, or the community of practitioners, played a crucial role in preserving Buddha's teachings after his death. The first Buddhist council, held shortly after Buddha's passing, was a monumental effort to ensure that the Dharma would continue to guide future generations. The council was not just about reciting and recording Buddha's teachings, it was about embodying the spirit of those teachings, about coming together as a community to support one another in the pursuit of truth. The Sangha was, and continues to be, one of the most important aspects of Buddhism. It is through the Sangha that the teachings are kept alive, not just in words but in practice. The monks and nuns who gathered at the first council were deeply committed to preserving the purity of the Dharma, to ensuring that the wisdom of their teacher would not be lost. Their dedication was a testament to the power of community, to the strength that comes from practicing together, supporting one another, and holding each other accountable on the path to enlightenment. In our own lives, the concept of Sangha can take many forms. It can be a formal community of practitioners, a group of friends who share a commitment to mindfulness and compassion, or even a network of individuals connected by a common purpose. The Sangha is a source of strength, a reminder that we are not alone on this journey. Just as Buddha's disciples came together to preserve his teachings, we too can find support and inspiration in those around us. The Sangha is a living embodiment of the Dharma, a reminder that the path to enlightenment is not a solitary one but a shared journey, one that we walk together. The global impact of Buddha's teachings. Buddha's teachings have had a profound impact on cultures and societies around the world. From the spread of Buddhism across Asia to its introduction to the West, the Dharma has touched the lives of countless individuals, offering a path to peace, wisdom, and compassion. The teachings of impermanence, non-attachment, and mindfulness have resonated with people from all walks of life, regardless of cultural or religious background. In the West, Buddhism has often been embraced as a philosophy rather than a religion, with its teachings on mindfulness and meditation finding a place in secular contexts. The practice of mindfulness, in particular, has become a powerful tool for managing stress, anxiety, and the challenges of modern life. Isn't it fascinating how a practice that originated over 2,500 years ago can still be so relevant today? How Buddha's insights into the nature of the mind can help us navigate the complexities of our fast-paced, technology-driven world. Buddhism's emphasis on compassion has also had a profound impact on social and political movements. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Thich Nhat Hanh have drawn inspiration from Buddha's teachings, using the principles of non-violence and compassion to effect change in their communities and beyond. Buddha's message of peace and understanding transcends cultural and national boundaries, offering a vision of a world where all beings are treated with kindness and respect. The relevance of Buddha's teachings in the modern world. In today's world, where stress, anxiety, and division seem to be ever present, Buddha's teachings offer a path to inner peace and harmony. His insights into the nature of suffering, the importance of mindfulness, and the practice of compassion are as relevant today as they were over 2 millennia ago. How often do we find ourselves caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life, forgetting the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface? Buddha's teachings remind us to slow down, to breathe, to be present, and to recognize the beauty and impermanence of each moment. The practice of mindfulness, which has become increasingly popular in recent years, is rooted in Buddha's teachings. Mindfulness is not just about being present, it is about being fully aware, fully alive in each moment. It is about seeing things as they truly are, without judgment, without attachment. Imagine living each day with that kind of awareness. How much more meaningful, how much more fulfilling would our lives be? Buddha's teachings on compassion are also deeply needed in our world today. In a time when divisions seem to be growing, when fear and hatred often dominate the headlines, the practice of compassion is a powerful antidote. Buddha taught that true happiness comes not from seeking our own pleasure but from caring for others, from recognizing our shared humanity. How different would our world be if we all practiced just a little more compassion, if we all made an effort to understand and care for one another? Conclusion. The story of Buddha's death is one of acceptance, courage, and unwavering truth. His final journey, his humble last meal, his serene passing, all speak to the depth of his enlightenment and his commitment to the Dharma. Though his physical body passed away, the light of his teachings continues to shine brightly, illuminating the path for millions across the world. Death, as Buddha taught, is not the end but a transformation, a chance to awaken fully to the truth of our existence and the boundless potential for liberation that lies within us all. Imagine a life where we are no longer afraid of endings, where every breath is taken with full awareness of its impermanence. That is the life Buddha showed us, a life of freedom, compassion, and endless striving for truth. His death was not an ending but a call to begin anew, to walk the path he showed us, with courage, dedication, and, most importantly, an open heart. So let's strive on, untiringly, until we too can find that perfect peace. The story of Buddha's death is not just a historical narrative, it is a living teaching, one that continues to inspire, to challenge, and to guide. It is a reminder that the path to enlightenment is open to all of us, that the potential for awakening lies within each of us, waiting to be realized. So let us take Buddha's final words to heart. Let us strive on, untiringly, with compassion, with wisdom, and with the understanding that every moment is an opportunity to awaken. Let us walk this path together, supporting one another, and let us find within ourselves the courage to face whatever comes, with the same grace and serenity that Buddha showed in his final moments. And when the time comes for us to take our final breath, may we do so with peace, knowing that we have lived fully, loved deeply, and strived untiringly for the truth. May we, like Buddha, leave behind a legacy of compassion, wisdom, and light, an enduring reminder that the path to liberation is always within reach, for those who have the courage to walk it.